There's a kind of fear that no horror film can manufacture, the kind that wasn't planned, wasn't scripted, and wasn't noticed until long after the final cut. It doesn't come from jump scares or special effects. It comes from the background, from a shadow that shouldn't move, a figure that shouldn't be there, or a door that closes without a sound crew nearby. Over the decades, dozens of films, not just horror, have captured moments that no one can quite explain. A child-sized silhouette that darts behind a character, a crew member that appears, even though the entire set swears no one was there. Sometimes these anomalies make it into the final cut and become cult obsessions. Other times, they're quietly removed in Blu-ray editions, as if pretending they were never there will erase them. In most cases, there's no official explanation. Directors deny they included it. Cinematographers say it wasn't in the frame. Actors admit to feeling cold or watched during the scene, but there's nothing written in the production logs. So what are these background moments? Ghosts of poor editing? Accidents of lighting? Or are they something else entirely? Today, we step into the shadows behind the camera. These aren't bloopers. They aren't Easter eggs. These are 15 background events that appeared on screen but never in any version of the script. They weren't meant to be filmed. They weren't meant to be seen, but they're still there. What do you do when something enters the scene that wasn't supposed to exist at all? Cloverfield, 2008. What you missed the first time might not be from this world or this production. Found footage thrives on chaos, and Cloverfield is chaos incarnate. But while most viewers focused on the monster, a few noticed something far stranger. During the Coney Island flashback, supposedly a happy moment, the reflection in the subway train window doesn't match the couple. Instead, for a few frames, it shows a third person, closer, watching, unblinking, not moving in sync. No explanation has ever been given. The reflection doesn't match any known crew member. And in one analysis, the figure's eyes seem to reflect light not present in the scene. When director Matt Reeves was asked, he seemed genuinely puzzled. "I don't remember that. Could be a lighting artifact," he offered. But lighting techs say otherwise. The angle and color of the reflection aren't possible with that setup. Some think it's an ARG Easter egg, a planted visual. But no one has linked it to any viral component of the campaign. What happens when a story about found footage includes something even the filmmakers didn't find? The Ring, 2002. Sometimes, the cursed footage isn't just in the VHS tape. In one scene, Rachel Keller watches the cursed tape in slow motion. We're shown flickering images, static, and unnatural motion. But between frames, buried in the flicker, is something that never made it into the script. Pause at the 0 hours, 13 minutes, and 9 seconds mark. A pale face, mouth open, eyes black, not Samara, flashes for less than a frame, reflected in the TV screen. Some believe it's a crew member accidentally caught in the monitor's glare. Others insist it doesn't resemble anyone on set. Gore Verbinski denied inserting subliminal images outside of what's shown in the main cursed tape. But in the DVD commentary, one sound engineer whispers, "That frame, it wasn't in the render log." Multiple viewers have claimed the figure flickers in different locations, depending on which format of the film they watch: theatrical, DVD, streaming. What if the real curse wasn't inside the tape, but hiding in the film itself? The Shining, 1980. In a film built on disorientation, one figure disorients even the story itself. Kubrick's The Shining is a textbook in visual manipulation. Nothing is accidental. But one scene has long confounded both fans and scholars. As Danny rides his tricycle through the Overlook Hotel's empty halls, the camera glides behind him, smooth and silent. But freeze the footage just as he turns a corner for a single frame. There's a leg, bare, human, standing in the dark space behind the camera, then gone. This figure is never addressed. The set was locked down for that Steadicam sequence, with only essential personnel present. The production notes list no extras, no open hallways. The camera operator said he saw no one in the mirror, no reflections. Some argue it's an editing error, but others say it matches no known crew member position and appears in some versions of the film but not others. In a movie where the hotel itself bends time and perception, perhaps this intrusion wasn't a mistake but a message. When a film is obsessed with hauntings, what if the haunting happened during the making, not just in the story? Eyes Wide Shut, 1999. Stanley Kubrick was a perfectionist, but one shadow made it past him. In the famous masked ball sequence, where orgy, ritual, and tension collide, every element was choreographed down to the smallest detail. But in a wide panning shot, just before a masked man steps into frame, a shadow passes across the wall, the silhouette of someone standing in the corner of the room. They don't appear in any other shot. They're not part of the ceremony. And the lighting crew swore the shadow couldn't have existed based on the setup. Kubrick, known for 100+ takes per scene, didn't reshoot. The shadow remains. Some say it was a grip accidentally caught by a lighting source, but the angle doesn't match. Others believe it was Kubrick himself, intentionally placing a ghost within his labyrinth. In interviews, Tom Cruise referred cryptically to the energy on set during that sequence. Nicole Kidman remained silent. In a film about voyeurism, power, and illusion, who was watching the watchers from the dark corner of the frame? 6. Hereditary, 2018. Not every haunting in this film was planned. One may have haunted the set itself. Hereditary is saturated with dread, its frames dense with hidden figures and visual whispers. But in one scene, a figure appears that doesn't match the narrative, the blocking, or the known extras. As Peter sits silently in his classroom, the focus is entirely on his disintegrating state. Behind him, blurred through the window of a locked hallway, a silhouette stands. It doesn't move, doesn't blink, just watches. Director Ari Aster is famous for planting visual clues throughout the film, but during a Q&A, he admitted, "That one, the figure outside the glass, we didn't place that. It wasn't in the shot plan." Some assumed it was a trick of reflection. Others said it was a crew member. But the DOP denied any reflective material was present during that shot. Even more bizarrely, during reshoots, the same silhouette reportedly appeared in background footage in a completely different location. The production discarded it, but fans later noticed the figure seems to be in both scenes wearing the same indistinct outline. In a film about inherited trauma and possession, how did something attach itself to the camera instead? Hereditary, 2018. Not every haunting in this film was planned. One may have haunted the set itself. Hereditary is saturated with dread, its frames dense with hidden figures and visual whispers. But in one scene, a figure appears that doesn't match the narrative, the blocking, or the known extras. As Peter sits silently in his classroom, the focus is entirely on his disintegrating state. Behind him, blurred through the window of a locked hallway, a silhouette stands. It doesn't move, doesn't blink, just watches. Director Ari Aster is famous for planting visual clues throughout the film, but during a Q&A, he admitted, "That one, the figure outside the glass, we didn't place that. It wasn't in the shot plan." Some assumed it was a trick of reflection. Others said it was a crew member, but the DOP denied any reflective material was present during that shot. Even more bizarrely, during reshoots, the same silhouette reportedly appeared in background footage in a completely different location. The production discarded it, but fans later noticed the figure seems to be in both scenes wearing the same indistinct outline. In a film about inherited trauma and possession, did something attach itself to the camera instead? Children of Men, 2006. Alfonso Cuarón's long takes are famous for precision, which makes this anomaly even more haunting. In a tense, chaotic scene where the protagonists run through a war-torn building, the camera follows them in a continuous shot, no cuts, no resets. As the camera pans past a stairwell, there's a brief flicker of movement on an upper floor, not part of the blocking, not in the script. And unlike other background actors, this person isn't wearing costuming from the scene's universe. In slow motion, viewers spotted what looked like a man in a hooded jacket, holding something glowing, possibly a phone screen. But no extras were supposed to be on that floor, and the production had locked down the building to ensure full control of movement. Even stranger, some versions of the film show the figure blinking in and out between frames, as if caught mid-digital glitch. But the film wasn't digitally altered in post. That scene was shot practically no VFX compositing. When asked in a podcast, Cuarón simply said, "I didn't put him there." In a world where chaos is choreographed, what happens when the camera sees something no one remembers filming? The Exorcist 3, 1990. Some shots were meant to unsettle. Others did so unintentionally and permanently. In one of the hospital hallway scenes, not the famous jump scare, but moments before it, the camera lingers just a second too long. Behind a nurse at a desk, a figure crosses in the far background. It's not clear, it's not focused, but it's not wearing hospital scrubs. And its gait is wrong, jerky, delayed, mechanical. The nurse doesn't react. No character notices. Years later, director William Peter Blatty was asked about the moment. He simply said, "We didn't plan for anyone to be walking through that corridor." The production notes show no extra in that scene. The call sheet has no scheduled movement in that hallway. The editing team reportedly assumed it was background motion blur and left it in, but frame-by-frame breakdowns show something else. A humanoid shape, arms too long, head tilted unnaturally. In some versions, the lighting even flickers slightly as it passes. In a film already obsessed with possession, what does it mean when something appears on camera without anyone's permission? Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, 2001. Middle-earth was crafted in detail, but one presence wasn't in the storyboard. In Rivendell, as Frodo awakens from his injuries, the camera pans across a serene, ethereal hallway. Everything is bathed in golden light, calm, sacred. But just before the scene cuts, a robed figure can be seen exiting through a far archway, moving swiftly, almost floating, never acknowledged. He's not Elrond, not a background elf, and he doesn't appear in any other scene. What's most disturbing is how he moves gliding rather than walking, with robes that don't match the wardrobe used on set. When fans pointed it out in early DVD forums, the studio released a statement saying it was a costumed crew member accidentally captured. But Weta Workshop staff later denied this, claiming no such robes were ever produced. Peter Jackson, known for obsessing over every frame, has never commented. In a trilogy so meticulously constructed, a mistake like this seems out of place. And yet, there he is, still in the footage, still walking toward a door that doesn't lead anywhere in the Rivendell set. Was it a slip, or did something ancient find its way into a frame meant for fantasy? The Passion of the Christ, 2004. There's one scene in this film that has nothing to do with theology and everything to do with terror. During the scourging scene in The Passion of the Christ, the focus is understandably brutal. Christ is tied, beaten, and surrounded by Roman soldiers. But as the camera pans and the crowd watches, a figure can be seen in the shadows, completely still, pale, with glowing eyes, standing behind a column. Mel Gibson later said the figure represented Satan, but what's strange is that this figure appears outside of the scenes where Satan was scripted. The makeup and silhouette don't match the actor playing Lucifer. In one frame, the figure seems to shift position between cuts, but it was never addressed. Even more disturbing, in the original press version shown at festivals, the figure didn't appear. It was first noticed in wide release, causing speculation that it was either a later addition or something caught on set. Some believe it was an optical illusion, a trick of the lighting. Others point to interviews where cast members said they felt watched during the shoot. Was it symbolic, or did the camera catch a face that no one on set remembered seeing? 3 colors. Red, 1994. In a film about fate and coincidence, a figure appears who wasn't supposed to be in either. Krzysztof Kieślowski's 3 colors. Red is celebrated for its poetic cinematography and layered symbolism. In one quiet street scene, Valentine walks past a row of buildings, lost in thought. Behind her, the street is supposed to be empty, but for a brief second, a man appears in a window staring directly at her, unmoving, unnoticed. He's not part of the narrative. He doesn't reappear. He's not listed in the cast. And the production team later admitted the window was meant to reflect empty light, not a human figure. The man's identity remains unknown. Fans have speculated. Is it a meta symbol? A crew member? Or something Kieślowski left behind as an unscripted whisper? It fits too perfectly with the themes of voyeurism and unseen connection that define the film. But maybe that's why it feels so disquieting. Because it wasn't meant to be part of the poetry. When your film is about fate, what does it mean when someone shows up uninvited in the background? Signs, 2002. The scene was about a child's birthday. What we saw was something else entirely. In Signs, M. Night Shyamalan builds tension through absence, the unseen threat, the silent spaces. But during a found footage moment at a child's birthday party in Brazil, the camera captures something stepping past an alley in broad daylight. It happens fast. A gray-green figure, humanoid, stiff, emerges, crosses the frame, and disappears. The children scream. The cameraman stumbles. But it wasn't the alien design that unsettled audiences, it was the eerie realism. The figure didn't look like CGI. It didn't behave like a scripted monster. It just walked. What makes this moment fascinating is that even within the context of the film where alien sightings are expected, this specific frame feels raw, almost accidental. It blurs the line between performance and candid terror. Shyamalan later claimed the scene was intentionally shot to feel like real panic. Yet many viewers have dissected the moment, noting how the alien's reflection appears in glass, even though it's supposed to be invisible. Others point out shadows inconsistent with the lighting setup. If it was just a costume and a camera shake, Why does it still feel like a leaked piece of real evidence? Back to the Future Part 2, 1989. Time travel isn't the strangest thing in this movie, it's who was standing behind the extras. In a scene set in the futuristic 2015, Marty McFly navigates a bustling street full of hoverboards, holograms, and people in eccentric clothing. But freeze the frame at the right moment, and you'll see a woman standing completely still behind the crowd, staring directly into the camera, unmoving, unblinking. She doesn't blink, doesn't interact. She's not wearing a futuristic outfit. She's just there. Fans began dissecting the footage. Was she a mistake? A crew member? An extra who froze at the wrong time? But no call sheet listed her. No one recalled hiring her. Some claimed she resembled a woman seen in a deleted scene from the first film, but her identity remains unknown. Even stranger, in one later re-release, her presence was digitally removed. No explanation, no comment from the studio. In a film all about rewriting timelines, could someone have slipped in from one we weren't supposed to see? The Wizard of Oz, 1939. In a land of color and dreams, something dark was caught behind the curtains. In the iconic forest scene of The Wizard of Oz, Dorothy and her companions are dancing down the yellow brick road, singing and smiling until, for a single second, something appears far in the background. Many viewers, especially those watching later VHS releases, reported seeing a shadowy figure hanging from a tree, what looked disturbingly like a body, swaying slightly in the wind. Urban legends exploded. Some claimed it was a Munchkin actor who had died by suicide on set. Others said it was a bird, part of the background props. MGM remained silent. The scene was never officially explained. Later remasters altered the lighting and framing to obscure the background completely, but the original version remains archived and studied. The story was likely a misinterpretation, but the effect was undeniable. A tale meant to bring joy and wonder had accidentally triggered one of cinema's most haunting visual conspiracies. When the fantasy is so carefully crafted, why does the horror feel more real when it's unintentional? Three Men and a Baby, 1987. This wasn't just a feel-good comedy, it accidentally became one of the most debated ghost stories in Hollywood. Set in a New York apartment, Three Men and a Baby was never meant to be unsettling. It was a light-hearted comedy about unexpected fatherhood. But in one scene, as Ted Danson walks past a window, the camera briefly captures something or someone standing behind the curtain. What appears is the figure of a boy, partially hidden in the shadows. Not a character, not part of the plot, just standing motionless. The cast and crew later claimed it was a cardboard cutout of Danson's character used in another scene, but it wasn't supposed to be in that location, and no one admitted placing it there. Rumors spread like wildfire. Some claimed the boy was a ghost of a child who had died in the apartment where the scene was filmed. Others argued it was a simple oversight, but why does the figure seem to change position in different versions of the footage? The boy in the background became a symbol of how quickly legends can grow when reality is uncertain. Disney quietly edited the scene for later releases, but the original footage lives on, unsettling, unexplained, and undeniably real. Was this just a studio error? Or did the camera capture something that wanted to be seen? The Others, 2001. When everything is built on silence, even the smallest sound becomes suspicious. In Alejandro Amenabar's The Others, silence is weaponized. The film thrives on stillness, on characters listening, not speaking. But during one quiet hallway scene, as Grace, Nicole Kidman, moves slowly past a closed door, a whisper is heard. It doesn't match any line in the script. It's not subtitled. It's not a voice the audience should recognize. Audio engineers later claimed it wasn't part of the original mix. It wasn't present in the master track. But home release viewers, especially those watching with headphones, reported hearing it. A raspy, childlike voice, saying what sounds like, "I'm still here." Some claimed it was an Easter egg, a clever plant by Amenabar, but the director has never confirmed it. Others believe it was an audio bleed from a nearby soundstage, except that the scene was filmed in a closed villa with no neighboring shoots. Fan analysis revealed that the whisper appears only in certain international versions, not in the original theatrical release. When a film is about the dead refusing to leave, what happens when one leaves their voice behind in the final mix? These weren't just glitches or background errors. They were moments that slipped through fragments that weren't written, weren't filmed with purpose, and yet remain. Whether they were accidents, oversights, or something no one is willing to explain, they leave behind a single question. If it wasn't in the script, why did the camera record it? So now, it's your turn. Which of these moments unsettled you the most? Have you ever spotted something strange, something truly unplanned in a film? Let us know in the comments. And if you want to keep seeing what wasn't meant to be seen, subscribe to Darkroom Cinema. We don't just talk about films, we uncover what hides behind them.